Good morning. As many of you know, here at Sanctuary Functional Medicine, I am Dr. Eric Potter. You also may know that many of my video blog posts come from questions that my patients pose during our visits. Today is going to be no different. Today is going to be talking about the reasons why we have so many health issues in our country today, why so many people are sick and needing to see a functional medicine doctor or needing help that they can't provide for themselves. So my answer to the patient was technically correct. However, after thinking about it, I did realize that I had a lot more I wanted to say. I talked all around the circle, but didn't get down to the real core of it. So let's walk through that answer real quick. So the first part of it that I talked with her about is all the deficiencies that we have in our food supply and thus in our bodies. We as a nation, we as a people across the world really have done a very poor job of stewarding the resources and have overutilized much cropland so that many of our soils do not contain as many minerals, as many vitamins, as much nutrition. So therefore the food grown from it will not provide the same amount of nutrition that it may have 50 years, 100 years ago. We have tried to extract too much from that soil and therefore left ourselves hurting because we did not take care of it. There are studies that support this. If you do look at studies from an environmental standpoint that say that our soils contain, say, less selenium or other minerals, then you can also look at studies showing that most people have some degree of a deficiency. May not be a full-blown deficiency, but at least lower levels that may be impacting their health of different minerals and vitamins, whether it's vitamin D, whether it's selenium, whether it's zinc, sometimes copper, often iron. Those are all deficiencies that can interfere with how you feel, how your body functions, and have repercussions for your health. So there's deficiencies because of poor food nutrition. There are deficiencies that are shown in actual testing, and then you take the next step. You take someone who's deficient, whose metabolism is not functioning as well, someone who is not detoxifying as well, and then you put them in an environment like we've created for ourselves where there are toxins everywhere. For the sake of convenience, for the sake of aesthetics, how we look, for the sake of just time constraints, we have filled our environment with a number of toxins, whether it's phthalates in different chemicals that we use in cleaning chemicals, phthalates for cosmetics, for personal care products, the scents that we put in, the volatile organic compounds that fill perfumes, that fill different things like dryer sheets or just laundry detergent, the scents we put in a house, the plug in the little things that's supposed to make your house smell better. We are filling our world with a lot of toxins. We don't have the metabolic capacity due to deficiencies to clear these out as well. Then you throw in a few amalgams, silver fillings in the teeth, you throw in some lead in the water supply, whether it's in Flint, Michigan, or some recent studies in the schools in Nashville, Tennessee, showing there were high levels of lead in drinking water at local schools. And you're creating a recipe for disaster. You take that and throw another layer of the onion on top of that, inflammation. Our diets not only provide little nutrition and a bunch of toxins, which sometimes themselves cause inflammation, but we eat a lot of sugar. We a few decades ago determined that fat was bad, but if we did low fat or we started using things like trans fats, eating more carbohydrates, we could actually be healthier. That was a big failure. So the high sugar diet that desserts and high fructose corn syrup and all these things that have been shown in multiple studies to increase inflammation, raise things like CRP, elevate your SED rate, other oxidative stress markers that we can test for, you're going to inflame your body, which even more slows down your detoxification. It damages cell membranes. It damages your DNA. It's thus, on one hand, increasing risk of heart disease, strokes, diabetes, high blood pressure, also increasing the chance of cancer and degenerative diseases as your DNA is damaged. So we've gone from deficiencies and toxicities to inflammation that comes in the form of our diet. We also have infections. Because our bodies are now weakened, our immune systems are weakened, we can look at the infections that are coming in, whether it's Lyme disease that are now spreading. Even the CDC admits that it is an epidemic. We look at some of the other chronic infections that we're just learning about, from mycoplasma to chlamydia pneumonia to other viral infections, Epstein-Barr, that can smolder for a number of years. You throw on top of that, another layer of the onion, the stress. We are going 24/7 in this society. We are pushing ourselves 365. We are not giving ourselves rest days. We are not taking time for relaxing activities. We are working 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week at times to push it and push it. We are taking our kids to 100 different activities, wearing them out as we wear ourselves out, trying to keep up with our neighbors. So our lifestyle is bringing stress. And what does that all do is we feel less energetic and less like we want to have relationships. We are going to spend less time. We're going to spend more time in the car dropping our children off, waiting for them. We are going to try to go to programs or go to events, but really not really spending time with our children, with friends, with family, and having relationships that put in recharge our batteries, that help us to begin to heal and to recuperate. And then because we're working so hard with all that, again, the other factor in that is just sleep. We're not getting enough sleep between digital devices that keep us awake at night, the blue screens, to just, I've got to stay up and work on this, or I've got to stay up for this event, or I'm eating so unhealthy that I can't sleep. So those are all the right answers that I gave the patient the other day, and it's really a combination of those things. And it's, for one person that may come to see me as a patient, it may be a little bit more of one thing. For another person, it's going to be a little more of the other. Different combinations, but those all play a part in the health that I'm trying to restore in patients. So where did I miss it? Where did I stop? Where did I leave things unsaid? Well, let's get down to the heart of the issue. Sanctuary functional medicine looks at the whole person health. We spend a lot of time talking about emotional things, we talk about physical things, biochemical things, infections, and all the things I just mentioned. But we also do not want to forget about your spiritual health. And what we as a people, we as a culture, have decided to do is forsake God's ways of living our lives for the sake of man's ways, because we know better. We've broken a covenant. God created things in such a way to make it where we could be fruitful. Yes, work is by the sweat of our brow. But we were designed and called to be fruitful, to fill, multiply over the earth, to have dominion over the earth. Not in one where we are pillaging, but a dominion in which we are stewards. We are bringing forth the fruit of the earth, the fruit of our labors, creating in whatever field that we've been called to, whatever we've been gifted in. So, when we have turned away from that and looked at our own goals of self-fulfillment, of pride, of greed, of using the environment for our own good, using relationships for our own good, seeking after things of the world rather than the things that are the best that God has laid out for us. So we have forgotten stewardship. We are not stewarding the earth we have. We are poisoning it. We are filling it with chemicals that are going to destroy for the sake of greed, for the sake of convenience. So it's a little easier for us to wash something or have a little smell that's a little better, or artificial colors so our foods look brighter, so some MSG so there's a little more zip to that food that you're eating, no matter that it's causing you symptoms, migraines and so forth. But we're not being stewards of what we've been given. In the midst of that, we're also forgetting community. We are spending so much time going to programs and events and being a part of every little thing, the social networks, the things on that are created that are not real, that face-to-face time, sitting down, spending time with your children, spending time with your family, your friends. Community is degrading. The family is degrading. So families spend less time sitting around the dinner table talking and eating. And even when they do, there's the digital phones, the computers, the screens that are drawing people's attention, if not immediately because they're looking at it. You go to a restaurant, people are texting back and forth, or you see teenagers sitting around texting, and whether they're texting each other or someone else, 10 miles away, who knows? But we're not having relationships the way that we were designed to have. Our families are not having those relationships, much less in a wider community. And then, in the midst of all that, we have the audacity to talk about all the rights we have. We have the right for everybody else to give us, whether it's health care, the right to have this thing or that thing or this time or that. One right after another. We deserve all these things. Well, no, we don't. We have done a horrible job from top to bottom. So when we look at the first things I talked about, the deficiencies, it's ruined because we haven't taken care of the land. The toxicities, we're poisoning our world. You look at the inflammation, we made bad lifestyle choices about where we spend our time, about what foods we eat. We want the sweet, the colorful, all the things, these flavors that actually are poisonous, from trans fats to sugars to artificial dyes and preservatives. We want all those things, and we want them now because we have a right to them. We also have a right to have all the money and all the toys. So we put ourselves through stress. We put our families through stress because they're all supposed to be in all these different events. Oh, they've got to play this sport. This sport 5 times, 5 different seasons in a year. Our children are suffering. They're having overuse injuries. They're getting burnt out. And then they're ending up turning away from being healthy at all, and they're just sick of it. And again, in the midst of that, we're not having relationships. We are having times where we sit around and having common events. So we can all go to the ball game and say, oh, we are really bonding. We really have something special because our city was in some playoff game, and oh, look at the camaraderie we have. It's all fake. What we really need is to go back to the way that God intended for people to live in community, in stewardship, in not expecting rights, but trying to give, to love God and to love neighbor, to care for what we've been given in the world. So, if we would do that, those first things I talked about are going to start improving. It's going to take a long time. We've got to clean up the mess that we have created in this world, but we can do it. So I am praying that we as a people, beginning with those who know the one true God, coming together and being able to say, you know what, let's put aside differences. Let's get back to the heart of what living a biblical life is supposed to look like. And we may, over 10 years, 100 years, a few generations, be able to restore what God intended for our earth, and we can maybe one day see a lessening of all this chronic health problems that we face every day in our clinic at Sanctuary Functional Medicine. So I thank you for listening, and I hope that this will both be a challenge and an encouragement for you to step forward and be a part of changing the mess that we've created. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.